Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the movie discussion Pocket Dimension, where time does not exist, and the only thing that matters is film. We're a bit later tonight. Circumstances forced it, but hopefully we still have some people joining us tonight. If not, hopefully you will catch us later. Anyway, as always, I'm Cole, and that is Jay. And little production note is that we've noticed that this is very nearly the year anniversary of this show, the movie discussion Pocket Dimension. Our first episode was December 6th, 2016. The episode was on No Country for Old Men.
We made it. We're official.
Yeah, we're official. So, so if you've been with us the entire time, well, thanks so much, of course. And anybody else, of course, that we've picked up along the way, great to have you too. And hopefully we'll get another year under our belts and go from there. That's definitely the plan. So tonight we go to another Spanish film. We did a Spanish film kind of lately, didn't we? Or no, not too lately. We did what is it called now? I cannot think of what it's called. I remember, the guy, the building manager.
Oh, yes. Sleep. Something about sleep.
Sleep Tight. Yeah.
Wow.
Right. So this is our second Spanish film besides Sleep Tight. And kind of like Sleep Tight, it's basically takes place in one location and is sort of about a fairly loathsome character or characters, although it's quite different, but some stuff going on. So this is In a Glass Cage from 1987, Spanish title Tras el Cristal, written and directed by director Agustí Villarronga. I think it was his first feature-length film. And this is a film that I hadn't seen before preparation for the show, but I'd heard about it, and I think it's because it's one of those films that often makes lists that if you look up on the internet and stuff, of lists of like most disturbing films. This usually is fairly high in a lot of them. I can understand why. The film didn't really disturb me. I didn't have trouble watching it the way I do with some other films, but I understand its reputation, and it certainly does really go there as far as content and stuff like that. So when it was released, some of it was just because it features a character who was a former Nazi during World War II, who had worked in concentration camps, obviously, and even though that is less important than you think going forward in the story, just the fact that happened, Europe has always been very, obviously because they're closer to it, Europe has always been very touchy about Nazi stuff. So even 1987, just the fact that this had Nazi stuff in it made it a bit controversial. And of course, the content, which goes all over the place. You've got where do we start? We like sexual torture of young boys and murder of them, and so pedophilia, homosexuality, torture, sadomasochism, all that good stuff, all mixed together in this plot. So yeah, definitely some disturbing fare.
So, I mean, I guess we're supposed to assume this guy was, he ran, when the war was over to Spain.
Yeah. His wife mentions it early on in a letter to her parents, which is pretty funny because there's a part in the movie where he is very worried about his wife finding out, like, because he says she doesn't know anything. But that's not entirely true. She does know something because she knows that he not only worked at a concentration camp during the war, but she even explicitly says to her parents in the letter when she asked them to reach out to this doctor, instead of just saying he worked with my husband during the war, she says she helped him experiment on children during the war. It's actually what she says. So I'm thinking, so not only does she know about that, but she's even telling her parents, and like, yeah, that's a good match. You're married to this guy that, and stuff like that. Because I mean, it's easy, even if they didn't know, like did know, it's the type of thing you wouldn't think somebody would say. It'd just be like, well, did some work during the war, not to get into it, right? It's like, oh, we all had, there was a war on, and we all had to do what we had to do, a way to gloss things over and stuff. But she especially says, yeah, reach out to this doctor. He helped experiment on, So I'm just like, wow. So her parents are okay with her being married to this guy that did this. But I guess what he meant is, what she doesn't know is that after the war, he independently. But anyway, what my point was, she says in the letter that they went into hiding 8 years ago. So my guess is this places the movie sometime in the early to mid 50s, just going by like the end of the war. So yeah, he flees to Spain, as a lot of former Nazis did. They fled to all sorts of places. I was looking it up not too long ago, unrelated to this movie and stuff. I'm surprised just how many like Nazi war criminals, you can look them up, are still at large, considered at large, in their 90s. You know, anybody that was involved there is in their 90s. So like, and sometimes you hear about ones getting caught, and and you can say, "Oh, justice is done," but I mean, they got away with it. You know, they find somebody at a nursing home in Ottawa or whatever, because actually a disturbing amount of Nazi war criminals have been living in Canada, which is kind of upsetting. Really? Yep.
And I've heard a lot in South America.
Yeah, that was like the original. That was the original route. There's a whole thing you can look up on Wikipedia. There was a specific route through into South America. Was sort of the original escape route for Nazis right in the wake of the war ending, and this was inadvertently set up by the Catholic Church. Because it all began with like a bishop or cardinal or somebody who was a Nazi sympathizer in Rome contacting and the whole idea was to get like Catholic Nazis out, and then it just wound up it didn't even matter for Catholic. It just became like a famous sort of underground railroad escape route for Nazis fleeing justice and stuff, and so quite a few wound up in South America. But all sorts of countries, and Spain in this one is this one. They're living, I think, somewhere like Catalina or something. So the movie, actually, you have to piece it together, kind of, because I knew what he was because I'd read about it, but actually, like, they only just drop a few names and stuff, and the opening is, another thing that probably led to some controversy is that the opening, at one part, you get a montage of real photos, like real concentration camp photos, showing inmates and the horrible conditions they were in, and they're all like emaciated and skinny, and it's very powerful because it's real. It's the movie might not be real, but that's real stuff. So they do have that, but like the Nazi stuff is sort of less important as you go forward, and it's just more about, well, he's a sick individual that has done these things. But anyway, the whole thing is, even after the war, he obviously got a taste for it, and he kept doing it independently, where he would, kidnap young boys and torture and murder them. And that's how the movie opens, with the last one he's doing. And it actually took me the second watch to fully realize that he's being watched doing it. I don't think I grasped that the first time I watched it. Although, of course, it makes sense because you don't know if, and it's a very disturbing opening, of course. It opens on like, some naked boy held up and stuff, and he's almost dead.
Yeah.
Because he's already been through so much, and then he finishes him off with a board, but then, and it's in like this weird, I don't know, like derelict building of some sort. It almost looks like some sort of like church type place. But anyway, so the guy, I can't even think of his name. Hold on, I need to double check his name so I know. Klaus. So, Klaus. So we'll just call him Klaus. So he goes up to the roof, and then we see that he still has a little shred of humanity left. Like he realizes like what he's doing is awful, at least to a certain extent, and that he can't go on. And then we don't actually see it, but it's implied that he leaps off. But just before that, we see from the point of view that somebody was down in the room, and that was the other thing. It was like. And it took me again to the second time watching to piece it together to understand exactly what was going on, because it makes sense. So he's left all the evidence there. The boy is there, and he leaves like his weird, gross photo album and journals and stuff, because he's thinking, well, let the world know I'm gonna, kill myself, and they can find out and stuff. And then now you find out, of course, okay, the person that watched it took all that stuff away, and then of course the person who watched it is our character, Angelo. But the first time I watched it, I don't know, I wasn't looking at it carefully enough to understand that there's a point of view part where being watched, because I was just like, where does Angelo come into this? Like, how does he know this stuff about his journals? Because later he's quoting the journals.
Yeah.
But so that was just sloppy watching on my part the first time, and that I just kind of missed that. But because I more or less knew what the plot was, it didn't, it didn't.
Well, it's a lot of point of view shots that there's one, I think, when he hits the boy with like a big piece of wood, that he kind of jumps back, and you hear him like kind of gasp. I think that's kind of but I mean, you wouldn't really know that without watching it, for the second time.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, and then the setup is the film takes place someplace after that, and we find out that Klaus did not die, but that he basically, I guess, got paralyzed below the neck, and also couldn't even breathe on his own.
What's worse than dying?
And it's now, yeah. So it's kind of like he's really kind of sort of gotten what he's deserved in many ways.
Karma is a bitch
for all the horrible things he's done. So like, yeah, karma's a bitch. You know, maybe you think you're doing the right thing by killing yourself, but instead of like the easy way out, you get this. So yeah, so now he's in this iron lung, which is the glass cage, of course, in the movie. Which they even pointed out for you. Even Angela even makes the remark. But anyway, so yeah, he's in this. He has no movement below his neck or feeling, I guess, and he can't even breathe without the machine doing it for him. Living in a big house with his wife, his daughter Rena, who's like 12 or something, and they have a housekeeper. Mm-hmm. And it opens sort of with the wife writing a letter to her parents asking for help because she just can't. She's admitting she just can't handle this anymore. Looking after him, she's kind of wishes he just would die because he's become such a burden and stuff. And so it opens with them thinking they need to at least get a private nurse or somebody to actually like look after him properly because it's just so demanding.
Yeah, she says she feels like his slave at one point. So.
Yeah, exactly. That now she feels like a slave.
It's understandable, but it's also a very, very harsh way to look at it, considering.
Well, it's harsh, but you find out that she's just a harsh woman. Like, it kind of makes sense that she married him because again, we see that she seems to be completely. Maybe she doesn't know that he was murdering boys afterwards, but she seems completely at peace with what he did during the war. Like, you know, whatever.
It's for a good cause, though.
Come on. Yeah, it was for a good cause. You know, science. You have to find out what injecting gasoline, how fast it takes to kill people. And I mean, that's not even a joke. That's something that really happened. No. Yeah. So I want people to understand that, you know, we're not trying to make light of this stuff. Like, we're very aware that these things happened in real life to real people, and it was awful. But as we said, as the movie goes forward, the Nazi stuff is actually less played up. Like, it's not like full of Nazi imagery or flashbacks or anything like that. It really just does go forward on Klaus's character, and maybe the war is what made, or his time at the war made him what he was, but it leaves that behind. It's just about that, because I was saying to Jay, and I'm sure plenty of people make this comparison, is the movie made me immediately think of Apt Pupil by Stephen King, which of course they did make a pretty good movie adaptation of, which has a somewhat similar premise in that you've got a former Nazi concentration camp person. This guy is a guard, not a doctor, who'd fled and was living in anonymity, and in the U.S. And a young impressionable boy finds out his secret, and instead of wanting to turn him in, just uses this blackmail because the kid is all messed up and fucked up and sadistic and excited, and he just wants to hear about all the stuff he did. And it's a really great story. I love it. It's a really great story. And as I said, the movie's quite good. It's they had to, of course, make some changes, but they did a pretty good job. But the difference here is, like, that was always about the Nazi stuff. Everything was about it. Like, the kid was really obsessed with the idea of the Nazis. At one point, he buys like a Nazi uniform and makes him march around it and stuff. So the movie's all full of swastikas and callbacks to Nazis and stuff like that. This movie's less about that, although it comes from a similar place. And of course, the relationship is quite different. Although it does still have some parallels, and like the main thing is, like, as much as in Apt Pupil, the old Nazi really hates this kid for the situation he has and thinks he's kind of fucked up for wanting all this, like, and thinks he's crazy. He does find himself getting kind of excited reliving it and talking to him about it, to the point that he does start murdering people again on his own, something that he hadn't done independently, unlike this. So it's kind of like the toxic relationship, how they bring out the worst in each other. This one is a little bit different in that we have a man that had generally tried to stop the only way he knew how, failed. Now he can't do anything. And then you have this this boy who is fascinated by him, but it has less to do with being fascinated with Nazis and just more to do with, I guess, death and pain and all that shit. So yeah, so we have Angelo.
Well, let me ask you this real quick before you move on. Apt Pupil was published in what, 82? Is that right?
Yes. Well, at least the collection it was in. I don't know if it was. It might have appeared in a magazine a few years earlier.
Before then, okay. I was just wondering. I went and looked at the dates to see which came first because they are really similar, but very different also. But
yeah,
yeah,
so
they
yeah,
really
that
downplays
pupil came out in yeah, it was published in that collection too. But I think the story itself was written and it probably had been published at least in a magazine a few years earlier. The story itself is set in the mid-70s. And actually, one of the differences between that and the movie is that the movie condenses events and moves them along quicker. The story actually takes place over a period of like 4 years. The boy goes from being like 13 to 17 or something like that.
Didn't you say that's one of your favorite Stephen King novellas?
Yeah, definitely. I really like it. It just grabs you right from the start. Like,
there's no read that one.
There's really no filler in that one. I mean, it is a novella. It's not a novel. It's a bit shorter, but I just mean like the whole thing to me. I found it really, really fascinating. It just grabs you right from the first. It doesn't let go. I think it's a really great story, and obviously a really edgy story. But yeah, so yeah, this movie has a lot of things that are sort of similar. Although again, it's less about Nazism and all that stuff, and just more about individuals. But still, obviously, a lot of parallels. So Angelo, yeah. So you have this fresh-faced. I don't know. He's like 20, 21, but he could even look younger, and like that's one of the things that works for him. He's got a really young look, and he knows it, and he knows it appeals to this guy who obviously had pedophilic tendencies, and clean shaven and stuff. And I think he knows that he's his type, right? Like he knows that this is even though he's a bit older, he's the type of boy that he would have been into and stuff, and he uses that. So, and anyway, as we find out that Angelo was the one who saw this and stole his journals and knows all this, and because that's what we find out. Having the conversation just before the wife breaks into the room, he's just saying, like, given what I've told you, I would advise you to hire me, even though he's, posing as a nurse. And he doesn't even do a good job of it. The wife is onto him right from the start. Like, she doesn't trust him at all at any point, really. But just because Klaus says, I want him to stay, she humors him for a bit. But she realizes right from the start something's wrong with this kid.
There's at least three different synopsis or plot summaries on IMDb, and they're all different because one of them says that he was actually like blackmailed into hiring Angelo, that he blackmailed Klaus into telling his wife he wanted to hire him. And I didn't ever see that. I was thinking maybe it was something I missed.
Well, like I said, that is the line that I just said. It's right. It's like the first thing you see when you see them together is you have the wife banging on the door outside and it comes and he says something. It's very quick because he just says like, given what I've just told you, I'd advise you to hire me. Is paraphrasing, but more or less what he said. Then you understand that what he's saying is, I have your journals and I know who you are and what you are. It's very fast. That's why it's easy to miss. It's just basically one sentence.
See, and the other two don't even mention that. They just say, "Yeah, he needed a nurse, so they hired this boy."
Yeah, but yeah, no, like he didn't have any credentials, and the wife, could tell right off that he probably wasn't for real and stuff. But Klaus says, "I want him to stay," and that's because he is blackmailing him with that because he knows who he is and what he's done. That's how we get into it. But I mean, it's funny in reading some of like the reviews and stuff. I've seen people saying it's like slow or boring and stuff. But I think this movie gets right going because within like the first, like it's not like a slow thing with Angelo, slow build up with Angelo being there. Like as soon as they're alone together, he starts being crazy.
Oh no, it's immediately.
Yeah, immediately. It's not like a gradual thing.
Well, I thought it was really crazy because he kills the wife at like 25 minutes in. It's like it was climaxing already.
Yeah. Since we're there, I'll talk about that sequence. I thought that sequence was really interesting because it's long and drawn out, and it's the house is weird because the house has like a big open part, with railings and stuff. It's all open going down. I don't know. I don't have the language to say.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either, but it is really cool looking.
But yeah, but anyway, so we have this scene where, of course, she he's decided not to hide it anymore, and he starts like getting in her face and intimidating her. So she tries to get away, and then she locks herself in a room and tries to get like a knife to defend herself. And then she comes out, and he stalks and ambushes her and kills her. But I always thought that whole sequence reminded me a lot of like Argento movies, like the whole stalking the woman and just the manner of her death. And again, the location kind of reminded me of an Argento place, this big sort of open, kind of theatrical looking place and stuff. And it is really cool how it works out at the end. You know, loops the noose over her, throws her over, and she's just holding on. He kicks her fingers off, and then snap. And the camera lingers for a second on her body hanging there.
The score when that was going was just insane too.
It's really great.
I heard like rats squeaking.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Like, I don't even understand what that means, but it kind of works.
It works. Yeah, there's another part where I heard like a rattlesnake rattle, and
yeah, I don't know. They're saying she's like caught like a rat in a trap. Like, I don't know what they're saying, but because at first I was like waiting, because I remember like I couldn't. The first time again, I remembered after watching the first time, I was like, now did I imagine that? And I was watching it again, I was like, no, there's the rat thing. Because I was going to see if like the camera like cuts really quick to an actual rat or something, but no, it just, but like you said, they use some animal sounds. There's a rattlesnake rattle going on at one part. I guess it's just a heightened tension, and it works pretty well. It's kind of creative.
Works really well, yeah. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I love the really quick cuts, because it was showing them, and then he was cornering her, in the doorway, and then it would cut to their feet, and it was showing the way their feet were moving. It was just really well done. I loved it.
Yeah, very well edited. Really gives you the frenetic pace. Like I said, I'm sort of baffled by people who think it's a slow movie. Because, as we said, it's not even a slow, gradual build-up. I mean, Angelo gets right down to business right away, and as you said, we're not even that far into the movie when he removes the wife, and it's completely easy. It's and again, we have Rena, who more or less pretty much knows that. Like, he lies and says, "Oh, your mother left," but part of me thinks she's too smart to believe that, and she just didn't like her mother because her mother was mean and kind of abusive to her, and thinks Angelo is treating her better at first. And she's happy to be with Angelo. There's only one part in the movie that I thought was sort of too long, and they could have made shorter, and that's when he dismisses the housekeeper.
I agree.
Like, he talks to her in the kitchen for like 5 minutes, and then they go out to like the hall and talk, and then he has to like go back and get her to talk to Klaus so Klaus can like verify it, and then like, I don't know, that just seems to take way too long. And the only point is he's getting rid of her so he can, have a more freedom in ruling the household and stuff. And that just seems to take too long. Like, his conversation with her goes on. Like I said, they move from one part of the house to another. It's like, okay, we could have done this probably quicker. It doesn't bother me or really tear down the movie or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that could have almost cut that entire scene with the housekeeper, and it wouldn't have hurt anything. But I mean, it's an hour, 50 minutes. So, I mean, it's really not that bad of a runtime anyway. So,
right. Yeah, because you easily could have just had a scene where somebody just mentions that he, like, they could just say that he dismissed the housekeeper and stuff. But I guess they just wanted to show, like, how good he is at convincing her everything's okay, because she doesn't suspect anything. She doesn't think it's weird. And he's just like, oh, yeah, they just don't need you while the wife is away. And they'll call you back when they're. She's like, oh yeah, great. She's all happy about it, and he gives her the money, and she leaves. So yeah, that scene just seemed too long to get across a fairly simple point. It seemed like they kind of labored it a bit, but it's fairly small criticism, because for the most part, I think the pacing is done really well. So what we get is, of course, Angelo not just wanting to punish Klaus for the things he's done, but also kind of being fascinated, and he even says, like, he just says, you can't do these things anymore, and I know you want to, and he's like, I could do them for you. You could, tell me how, and he's like, I could be like you, and Klaus is just like, no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to go down that path. Like, again, Klaus, for as monstrous as he's been, he still, again, has some sort of shred of humanity within him, where even if it was cowardice that caused him to jump, it was still probably a bit of remorse and guilt and stuff too. And Angelo isn't like a completely unfeeling monster either. He at one point he's even crying while reading a section of the journal So it's very interesting. They're both monsters in sort of different ways, and yet they're both still have little bits of humanity to them, which is really what makes them a lot more interesting. Because when you have characters that are just like, completely evil and bad, I mean, that's only effective in certain kind of movies, but in most kind of movies, it just seems sort of silly. It's better to have a more well-rounded sort of villain or whatever you want to call them, because I mean, obviously they're villains, they're not sympathetic, but they still have at least a few sort of decent qualities to them, because in real life people usually aren't that black and white. It's not that simple, and it makes it interesting because you have like both of them are pretty fucked up and terrible, but kind of in different ways and kind of in the same ways, and you see how it mingles and stuff. Because for all the things Klaus has done, he does care about his wife and his child, and he's mostly really in fear of that Rena's going to be killed soon too, and he doesn't want that to happen. He does care about his daughter.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing.
Angelo, even though Angelo seems to like Rena fine, but he's so unpredictable, you could just imagine that if he felt like removing her, he would. And leading to a very different ending, which we'll get to eventually. Very interesting ending.
Yeah. You see, Klaus, I love death.
Yeah, he has some great lines, and just a really great actor.
He is. It's his first film.
Yeah, this actor, his name was David Seuss, and like the intensity he brings to it is just great. Like he's just got this really intense look to his face and his eyes. Like there's parts where he's like holding eye contact with characters and stuff, and yeah, he's just got this great intensity. He's really gotten into the role, and again, like the very first time where he's there with Klaus, and he's reading or reciting some of the journal, and he's stripping off his clothes and stuff. Like he's just so intense. It's nuts. Really well done.
It's really bizarre, until you find out, at the end. But what his motivation is, other than he was just like deeply disturbed before, and now he's just taking this as a jumping off point. Because his character arc is, he seemingly goes from a normal boy, young man, whatever, to straight up serial killer, pedophile, whatever you want to call him, just awful, torturing person. The exact same thing, just like a copycat of Klaus.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why? Just because you found the book and saw it happen?
Yeah. Well, we find out that he's one of Klaus's victims, but one that survived. Like, that's the big revelation. But just thinking, well, so what? Like, most of Klaus's victims die horribly. Like, this kid got off easy. Like, I'm not saying it. As far as I can tell, what he did was he coerced him into giving him oral sex. Isn't that what happened? He's like, hey, kid, want a cigarette? And obviously, that's a very bad thing. It can be a very damaging thing for a child to go through, of course, and stuff. But yeah, where Angelo ends up, it's very interesting because some people have said, like, one of the themes of the movie is, like, the cyclical nature of abuse. And it is true.
Yeah, that's
not to paint everybody with the same brush, but it is true. If you have somebody that, say, physically and sexually abuses children, there's actually a very good chance that it happened to them, too, when they were kids. And although not always. And, of course, there are people that have gone through it that grew up and were completely fine and decent. But it is true that a high percentage of abusers were abused themselves. And I guess that's some of the point of the movie, but as you said, it just goes so far in that direction that you're just like, whoa. It's like, I think he would have been disturbed either way. Like, even if this didn't happen to him, you'd have to think he's just got so many deep-seated problems anyway.
Yeah. They just became fascinated with it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what I took away from it, was the cycle of abuse. It's just, ongoing process. I don't know if it's, partly genetic or what, but
yeah. And I mean, I think, like I said, I don't know how much they want to, because it seems like they downplayed even though then again, I don't want to say they downplayed it, because, as I said, they do show, like, those scenes from the concentration camps. They do actually show, photographs and stuff. And there are, of course, journal readings talking about it. So I don't want to say downplay. I only meant downplay as opposed to something like Apt Pupil, where that's front and center all the time.
Yeah.
But so part of me thinks, like, that whole cyclical nature thing is also sort of like the after effects and the scarring effects of a horrible event or war or something, and how long it takes the world to heal and stuff. And that's very true.
Well, I think the only really extreme thing about the film is the subject matter because it doesn't actually show any. I don't think it shows any nudity at all, does it?
No, it's all sort of partial.
It all cuts away when it's
Yeah, it cuts
happening.
away and there's shadows and stuff.
Yeah,
So yeah, you don't have that, and
but I mean, it's tastefully done in that regard. So I
yeah,
mean,
for sure. Like when people talk about the film being disturbing, it's because yeah, it's disturbing for what it implies. It's not necessarily disturbing for what it shows. So as you said, you wouldn't call it exploitative at all. It's not like some movie that's just out to shock. It's really does have a purpose, and it goes about it in a very artful way.
yeah. Well, yeah, this is on Shudder, and it's in their terror transgressive collection, and a big warning pops
Big
up on the
warning,
screen.
yeah.
Yeah, it says
Yeah.
the title is deemed extreme, could come shrouded in ultra graphic content, controversy, and in certain cases legal dispute. They could be intense and vivid as they are culturally and cinematically significant. Shudder is proud to present these transgressive, boundary pushing, sometimes banned and totally rad films in their most complete form. So,
Yeah.
totally rad. That's kind of, but
it kind of undercuts the point
it
they're trying to
does
make, doesn't
totally
it?
does. But yeah, I was on board till they said rad.
But I mean, yes, I applaud Shudder for having a movie like this and presenting it fully uncut and stuff. But like as you said, it does
What would
maybe
you
skew your expectations.
what would you cut though? I mean, it's nothing to cut, really.
Yeah, exactly right. Like this isn't a video nasty.
No.
It's all about, as you said, the subject matter and what's and what's implied, not necessarily the content you actually see on the screen. And I can understand that. That's very effective.
Exactly.
But for me,
it's the way to do it.
you know, I wasn't disturbed watching the movie. I understand it's disturbing. I'm a person with, I think, fairly healthy emotional responses to things. I'm not a psychopath, but I'm just saying, like, you know, I think for somebody like myself and Jay and a lot of people that maybe watch our show, it's like, you know, we've seen a lot of movies, we've seen a lot of stuff. I read a lot of books, and you know, that aren't afraid to go there. And I mean, I get it. Like, I don't want to come down on people that are more sensitive to these things and stuff like that, but I don't know. Sometimes people just have such weird objections to things. Like, I just think, I don't know, it must be so boring to be so, like, closed off or tightly wound or repressed and stuff. But, you know, to each their own. I can't judge other people. But
yeah, it's definitely not a film you could pop on, you know, for the family or, you know, say your grandparents or something.
Yeah, certainly not.
But, you know, learned a lot.
Grandpa, it's one of the Nazis that got away.
That bastard.
That bastard.
But, yeah, man, it's, you know, I had mentioned this film to you a while back, and, you know, I saw it, you know, probably 5-6 years ago for the first time, and I liked it a lot, but I watched it this time, and I just really love it. It's just so well done.
Yeah.
Just a great movie that really needs to be talked about more.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I'm like I said, I'm a little surprised. It doesn't. I thought, you know, if I looked it up, there would be more on it, like on Wikipedia and stuff like that. But everything's fairly short and stuff. And
yeah,
as I said, I wanted to find a bit more background on it, really, but I couldn't.
I really can't find anything on it either.
I mean, one of the things they say is that it was somewhat inspired by Gilles Zaré, who I think inspired all sorts of fiction. And I mean, I can see a little bit of it because it has like children being killed, but I mean, it's still not really that close to anything like Gilles Zaré, really, except, well, no. But for those who don't know the name, he's one of the more popular, not popular, but he's one of the more infamous serial killers throughout history, and he's going back quite a while. He would be a 16th century, or no, a 15th century. He'd be a 15th century, 1400. He was a nobleman. He was a knight in France, and it's funny. Like, it's mostly understood as fact that he did these things, but since it was so long ago, there are people that believe that he was like framed or that there was a false confession, and it's not true. But we're going to go on the assumption that it is true. Anyway, that he was a very prolific child murderer, but one of the reasons he was able to get away with it was because he was a knight and a nobleman, and the the victims he preyed on were just commoners, and he actually had all sorts of people working under him that were complicit and helped him, that he would like send out assistants to go lure the kids in and stuff. So a whole bunch of people were on it, but yeah, and he was. But anyway, the way his murders are described are just horrific. Some of the worst stuff you'll ever read about real life killers, where he would, he killed boys and girls, but both quite young. And again, going on this, he was just as sick as a bastard to come. He wouldn't, he would torture them and sodomize them and stuff like that. And it's also like sometimes he would like sit on their chests and like laugh at them while they died after like he slit their throats and stuff like that. Like, so just a horrible sadistic monster who eventually was caught. And again, people have said, well, maybe it's a conspiracy. He was caught because what happened for sure was he was in some sort of dispute with some clergy guy, and he actually kidnapped him, and it got the church involved, and they did an investigation, and that's where the stuff came out. In any case, it is very true that all sorts of children did go missing in his area and stuff, and bodies were found. So somebody was killing children, not so it's not like that was made up. That was definitely happening. One of the more interesting notes about Gilles de Rais is that he wasn't just knighted because he came from a good family. He was actually supposedly a brilliant and fearless soldier who performed with all sorts of bravery during the 100 Years' War and actually fought in battles alongside Joan of Arc. My ancestor, not really, but Cold Arc, but Joan d'Arc. Not really. But yeah, so that's one of the more little interesting footnotes about him. But anyway, not to get onto that, but yeah, he was eventually tried and executed at the age of 35, and he's often cited as an influence for a lot of fictional serial killers and stuff like that. And you can see a bit of a parallel here, but mostly not so much. It's just child killer, sure.
Yeah, you can imagine.
It's funny that I haven't really seen any movies about Gilles de Rais.
You can imagine that inspired quite a few things.
Yeah. Well, actually, most notably, the story of Bluebeard is directly based on him. Even though that's quite different, because Bluebeard, he killed his wives, didn't he?
I'm not sure.
Okay, but yeah, that's probably the most popular thing in fiction. Yeah, fairy tale from the 17th century, Bluebeard, which in its turn went on to influence all sorts of stuff. But yeah, it's more or less just about like this really wealthy, powerful nobleman that just keeps marrying these young, beautiful women, and they disappear, and it's because he was murdering them.
Yeah, that sounds like what actually goes on.
Yeah. Which doesn't seem to have much to do with Gilles de Rais, except the fact that he would be a wealthy nobleman using his position to commit murder, I guess, is the main thing. But anyway, yeah, so Bluebeard itself, yeah, would go on to inspire all sorts of stuff. In fact, Bluebeard is even just sort of a pop culture reference, sort of meeting somebody that kills their wife.
Look at this Bluebeard over here.
It's kind of like the male equivalent of like the Black Widow.
Huh.
The people talk about the Black Widow, the woman that kills her lovers or husbands and stuff like that.
Well, say, what is it? No, never mind. I was gonna make a stupid joke. we can move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, the guy Gunther Messner was actually he turned the role down, originally until
he's the guy that played Klaus. Yes,
right. He couldn't get it out of his mind, so he changed his mind and decided to play it. So disturbing, but he couldn't shake it. So
an interesting way to play a role, really, because I mean, you only have like the one scene at the beginning where he's walking around. The rest, he doesn't have any movement. It's just his head. So the only thing he does in the movie is look up and talk a little.
Yeah.
And then there's times where he gets unhooked from the machine, where he goes, or he starts gasping.
There's lots of that.
Yeah, because there's times where he gets unhooked and stuff. But yeah, definitely. So there's two boys we see murdered in the film that are murdered by Angelo, that Angelo brings to murder right in front of him. The first one is definitely the more they're both kind of, yeah, I guess equally disturbing in different ways, in that the kill is most disturbing on the first one, where he takes the syringe and fills it with gasoline and then you actually watch the kid die a bit, and his eyes roll back in his head, and he's like, and you're like, whoa. The other kid, it's not his death that it's disturbing. He gets his throat cut, and I think they cut it off really fast. Like, you don't see much, but it's just the lead up to it, because the kid knows he's going to die, and Angelo's screaming at him to sing, and he's trying to sing while he's crying and stuff, and it's really
that's
terrible.
Yeah, I think those two scenes are what really gets it the reputation it has, just because that's the exact part where other films would cut, but this shows you it's just so uninhibited.
And most films don't, of course, even have child death.
Right. Yeah.
They'll put children in danger, but then they'll rescue them at the last minute or something like that. And usually, if you have child death in a movie, as you said, it takes place off screen, or it's at least supposed to be quick or something. Whereas this, it's very visceral and awful, because death is in front of them. They see it coming. They can't do anything about it. It's drawn out. So that's definitely the disturbing thing.
I mean, just like an off-screen child death is kind of frowned upon in most movies.
Mm-hmm.
But this, it shows you the entire process.
This shows you 3 on-screen child deaths. I mean, counting the opening scene.
And 5 total deaths.
Yeah.
So, but
the Nazi stuff does get played up a bit, because by the time he's gotten rid of the housekeeper, he does want to, he starts dressing all in black, and he's carrying around like one of those weird canes and stuff. He starts putting up barbed wire and stuff, because he obviously wants the place to kind of look like a concentration camp. So I keep having me backpedal saying that they downplay the Nazi stuff. They don't really. I only meant as opposed to something like Apt Pupil.
There's 0 swastikas in this film, though. I mean,
there's no swastikas or anything like that. But still, obviously Angelo's fascination is tied up a little bit with, like, not just death and murder and all that evil stuff, but also a little bit with the Nazi presentation, because he starts dressing like that, like he's like some sort of commandant, and he rules the household, and he's got, as we said, he burns the furniture in a fire, in a bonfire, which Rena finds kind of exciting, and she enjoys, because she doesn't know what's going on. She's just thinking, good, this just represents my stuffy, stupid mother, and it's all going. Like, you can see how she eventually, of course, she does catch on. It's not even so much catching on, because he gets to a point where he doesn't really even hide anything anymore.
Yeah.
At one point, I don't remember if it's the second kid. I think it's the second kid. He's just dragging the second kid up the stairs right in front of her, and she's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Go to your room,"
Uh-huh.
And at that point, she knows to be super afraid of him.
Yeah. But eventually he basically relives the experience with Klaus when he was a boy.
Yeah.
But the roles are reversed. So that's basically when the big reveal that he was the boy, even though I feel like
that doesn't seem that important in light of everything that's happened. It's like, oh, okay, so he was one of his victims.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, but they did show some cutscenes earlier in the film with that boy that had the same scar. So I kind of was expecting that to be the case, but not really that significant at all, considering.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But yeah, that's our climactic scene, I guess, is when he finally kills him.
Yeah. So.
And as you said, it's a role reversal, and then, well, we'll get to the ending. A very, very unique and sort of powerful ending, because Rena does try to escape from him.
Yeah.
Because Klaus tells her, "You have to get out of here and tell somebody in the village about this. He has to be stopped." And he catches her and brings her back. And but then he sort of completes his transformation at this point. He's killed Klaus, and now he's going to replace him. And it's just an amazing shot at the end where she goes in, and the room, everything's been removed from the room, and it's all just shiny. I don't know what he's put on the floor and stuff, but it seems like it's wet. And then he puts himself into the glass cage, and he becomes Klaus. and and you get the feeling like even though Rena could get away now, obviously, it's like she's trapped like psychologically with him. She's she's going to be the new apprentice.
Exactly.
So there's the cyclical thing again, which I think is just a really brilliant ending because I totally didn't see it coming, and it's really cool. And I know a lot of people watch that and be like, "Whoa, wait a minute, that's stupid. Why would he do that?" But I'm just thinking, well, it's because he's crazy, and he has a very specific vision of what he wants to do. And as you say, like you could almost see it working out, like him just like nobody comes to the house anyway. It's like he's Klaus now. He'll get Klaus's mail and stuff like that, and he'll just make Rena do everything and lie to everybody. Like you totally see it continuing. Although I don't know, and he just seems crazy enough to be dedicated to just stay in it, even though he doesn't need to.
Yeah, so
forcing poor Rena to like care for him. Forcing Rena to care for him when he's perfectly able-bodied.
Did I miss a scene where he got paralyzed? But
no.
I was thinking maybe because it just like cut and he was in there. I must have not noticed him getting into it. Okay.
No, he just gets into it.
So he gets in, okay, and then she goes up there and well, I mean, you notice how different she is too. She looks much older. She's pulled her hair back, and
she's been changed. Like he had some sort of really weird, intense confrontation from her, and it's almost like he's got her. Like now she'll do what he says. It's really interesting.
But I almost felt like she was in charge, there at the end. I don't know if that's what he wants or whatever, but it's just kind of I felt like she was the one. She had basically turned into him.
Yeah, well, that's what he wants. Like now, as he said even early on, like I'm your father. Like he's really trying to show that he's her parental figure, and she's going to do what he says. Like he just dominates her psychologically, which is really fascinating to watch and stuff. So yeah, I totally buy the ending that like he's getting what he wants, that it's going to work. Even though it's really bizarre and like a rational person, you can't really make sense of it. But if you sort of try to step back and think about the way this character's arc has gone and what he's been through and what he's been trying to achieve, it only makes perfect sense. I think it's a really great ending, really powerful. The artificial lung, as it's called, or iron lung.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with those. Is that like tuberculosis or like really bad? What is it when your lungs fill up with fluid?
I think they still exist. It's a more of an antiquated thing now. Like there's all sorts of things that like back when the movie's set, like that people would need it for that don't need it now because medicine's come a long way. I don't know enough about medicine, but I think it's still a thing. I think there are still people that require them, but less than there used to be. I mean, I'll just have to look into that because I really don't know enough about it, but
this is nearly obsolete mechanical respirator. So basically, they have better respirators now.
Yeah, they have better respirators.
So you don't have to be in that thing.
Mm-hmm. But as far as I know, like it's because the way they move him, it's like he's also paralyzed. Like he's completely paralyzed below the neck. So there's scenes where they're like lifting him up, and he's completely limp.
Wasn't Christopher
Reeve?
Yeah. Well, wasn't he that way? Didn't he have to have a respirator to breathe?
Like get around and stuff, couldn't he? Like he had like a respirator, but like he could get around in a wheelchair with it, couldn't he? So that just shows again like the advances in medical technology.
Somewhere like you get so paralyzed that your body doesn't even let you breathe. You have to actually have that done manually. Okay.
Yeah. Not sure how it goes either, but yeah, obviously the lungs don't function as they should.
Man, that's terrible.
I know, it's an awful thing to think, and yeah, there's people out there, I mean, yeah. But it is better than it used to be, as we said. This movie's probably sometime in the 50s, and it's an antiquated thing now, and people that have that condition, they have better options. There's very few people that need anything that's similar to an actual iron lung, although it still does exist. It still is a thing. There are still people that use at least a variation of it.
Looks like polio was the big thing.
Yes. And luckily polio's been pretty much eradicated.
Probably another reason why it's not in use as much. Cool. Good old Thomas Edison.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else is notable about the film. I mean, for all its content and stuff, it is a fairly straightforward film. It has its various themes, but they're all pretty evident. You know, it's not like not necessarily subtle. It's all right there for you to see. But like I said, I like the Argento-esque-ness of some of it, like some of the use of color. I think is sort of reminiscent of him, and of course, as I said, the murder sequence where the wife is murdered reminds me a lot of A Kill in an Argento film, and also really effective music.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's probably one of the better parts of the movie, I think. Is the music, because I mean, there's a lot of scenes with not a lot of dialogue. It's just carried by the music. So
that's right. Actually, the guy that did the music is also Spanish, Javier Navarrete. He did the music for Pan's Labyrinth with Guillermo del Toro. Okay. So he's maintained a significant presence in Spanish film, obviously, and that's a wonderful soundtrack too. And he'd also done The Devil's Backbone with Guillermo del Toro. So, really talented guy, obviously. Some very good stuff.
Those are both good ones, but the music doesn't really stand out to me. I'd have to watch it again.
Not so much Devil's Backbone, but Pan's Labyrinth definitely has a couple really memorable bits.
That's a lot to take in, that movie. Definitely.
Oh, for sure.
You need to watch that one a few times.
Yep. And on current events, very much looking forward to The Shape of Water.
When does that start?
Definitely have to check that out. Everybody's ranting and raving about it. I'm really looking forward to it.
I mean, I've been wanting to go to the movies, but there's just nothing. I'm gonna have to go see Coco tomorrow, I think. But
yeah,
it's nothing.
Supposedly that's way better than it looks. I don't know. That's what I've heard. I've heard that while it looks crappy, that it's actually quite good. So I don't know.
People love it, but I mean, people always give Pixar the benefit of the doubt.
That's true, because I mean, I remember people loved Inside Out. I didn't think Inside Out was bad. It was just, I thought it was okay. I was like, well, this is an idea I've seen done in other things, and this isn't really that different. It was an okay movie, but it was a huge hit, and people were like, Pixar are back. I was like, okay, I guess, but yeah, I know what you mean. But
I haven't seen the new Cars movie, but I've seen pretty much all the other Pixar movies, and I really have been impressed in quite a few years. I like the dinosaur movie, okay, but
yeah, it wasn't that great either. I liked it, but yeah.
I mean, I didn't like Inside Out. I didn't like Finding Dory. That was terrible.
Didn't like Brave.
Yeah,
Forgot about Brave. Super underwhelming. It looks beautiful. I love seeing their Scotland and the forest and the castle and stuff. But what's funny is how vague because the movie barely has a plot. Really, I remember the previews for it. They were super vague about what it was even about. She's just like, I wish I want to change my fate, and basically that's what it is. I mean, that's what it's about. She asks if she can change her fate, and since that's super vague wording, it's like, okay, well, if your mother was a bear, that would change your fate. And that's what she winds up with.
Yeah.
There, your mother's a bear. That's different. Deal with it. But yeah. And what's fun, I didn't even like Ratatouille, which is a big hit, and I wanted to like it because I thought that was a really cool premise and stuff.
See, I didn't either. I didn't like it the first time. I've kind of warmed up to it a little bit, but not a whole lot.
Yeah, I loved The Incredibles. That's my favorite one. And I said for years, where's the sequel? Finally, there's going to be a sequel. But I saw the little teaser for it, and I hope it's not all about the baby, because I don't want a movie that's just all about some super-powered baby. Look, this kid. They already basically even did the joke in the movie afterwards, because, they showed what the babysitter went through. Yeah. That's enough. I hope I hope they didn't get the whole cast together movie, more than 10 years later, just so that they can just do some sort of I don't know, one of those Look Who's Talking type situations, or one of those movies where it's it's all about babies and kids now. Maybe not. It was just a little teaser. I'm just really hoping. I have faith because the first one was great, so hopefully it will be great.
Yeah, that's Brad Bird, right?
Yeah, I love Brad Bird. Awesome guy. Iron Giant.
Iron Giant, yeah.
I always have to bring up people, they're so. But I was also going to say, yeah, and that's hand-drawn animation, just before it was really dying over here. But that's the other movie I'm going to try to see. I was going to say that Ryan and I, hopefully tomorrow, are going to go see Justice League. neither of us expect this to be good, but we sort of feel like it's our duty to see it. I remember those who watched The Sausage Factory, I mean, remember that it was a big deal that we even had a bit of a pledge drive because I was adamant that I wasn't going to see Batman versus Superman because I really love Batman. I hate Ben Affleck and all this stuff. And then, you know, people actually cared enough to like donate some money to pay for my ticket. So which is flattering. And I went, and it was as bad as I expected to be, if not worse. This time around, I wasn't going to put anybody through it, whatever. And I just thought, fine, I'll just watch this movie and see what it is. But anyway, I was going to say, but as far as hand-drawn animation goes, there's a film called The Breadwinner that I'm hoping to get to in the next couple of days. I think it's Canadian, actually.
Yeah, you told me about that, I think.
Yeah, I never read the book, but it's a fairly popular, not children's, but sort of young adult book about like a girl living, I can't remember if it's Egypt, but some like Middle Eastern place, and I think her mother gets arrested or something, and she has to sort of fend for herself and stuff. Anyway, you know, there's very little hand-drawn animation stuff coming out now, especially that's not anime. So I'm hoping to see, that's at my theater right now, so I'm hoping to get to that maybe on this weekend or something. But the plan for tomorrow is to check out Justice League because, well, you know, whatever happens, happens.
I think the best thing I've heard about that movie is it's better than Batman versus Superman.
Yeah,
but that's not enough to put me in the seat.
No, I wouldn't expect.
I did not like Batman versus Superman whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like, remember how bad Batman and Superman were? Well, now you can see how bad they are, how bad the Flash is, how bad Aquaman is. It's like everybody sucks except Wonder Woman.
I feel like there's a certain number of fanboys that are just so excited to see DC on the big screen that they're just going to accept whatever shit they throw at it.
I can respect that to a certain extent, although I wasn't like that. I was super hard on the Marvel movies when they first came out. You know, the X-Men movies, the Spider-Man movies. I was like, what is this crap? Yeah. I was like, I waited all these years for my superheroes to come to the movie, like, you know. But I am happy with, as I've said, I'm a very big fan of the MCU movies. They have their issues and stuff, but they're all pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I saw Thor. I like Thor.
Yeah, Thor was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And really great looking, too. Very colorful, had a great look.
I would not have seen that if you hadn't told
me. They buried Black Panther in February, but it still looks pretty cool. I'm going to go see it.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
And, yeah. It really does. Black Panther deserves better than February. You think they could hold off till April, but whatever. It at least gives me something to go see in February, because usually that's a graveyard.
February is Black History Month. Here.
Oh my God, that's probably it. I swear to God, that's probably it. Whatever.
As I was trying to think, like, why would they put that in February? But, yeah. I mean, other than the fact that they don't have any confidence in it.
Take it as a win, people. Don't get all crazy about it. Take it as a win. Black Panther is a good character who definitely deserves his own movie. I agree with that 100%.
Well, hey, they had all the screenings for just women for Wonder Woman. They should just let black people in to see it.
I know. What is that?
That'll create controversy.
Yeah, a women's. I'm not going to go all, you know.
No. It was totally pointless, for one. I mean, why do that? I mean,
it's not like I felt persecuted. I'm not one of those men's rights.
Hey, fuck you. I'll watch it if I want to. I'm going to watch it. You'll see. I'll do it. You know, I mean, but it worked. It created controversy, so.
Of course.
But,
so much controversy these days. So much.
I want to go see a movie, goddammit. I'll go see it. I'm not going to tell me I can't see it.
Star Wars soon.
Yeah. Keeping my expectations very, very low.
It's been a while. I haven't watched it again, but when I saw that preview, when I was in the last in the theater, I was super impressed. But maybe they were just, you know, doing what previews do. Maybe they were just, you know, showing all the right bits, just hitting all the right notes. You know, previews can really, you know, fool you. So maybe that's what they did. Maybe it's just a really well put together preview that's actually just made to fool me. I'll find out.
Well,
I have to say, the preview totally worked for me. I was like, wow, I'm excited. Like, that's how I felt. So it did its job, but we'll see if it was telling the truth or not.
Well, Cameron still complains about Rogue One not having scenes that were in the trailer, so.
I don't even remember that.
I didn't ever watch those trailers either. I've been avoiding trailers for that long.
Yeah. Well, this one was in the theater. I couldn't really avoid it.
I know.
That's when I went to see Thor. I'm surprised. You saw Thor and they didn't show the Star Wars preview?
No, I got in late.
You got there late? You got in late, yeah.
I walked in like right as it started, so.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Is ideal for me. I would rather do that, even though, I mean, I like the, tradition of watching trailers. I just feel like they, for one, they're terrible. They give away too much of the movie. They're not well done at all.
We just got to a point where they show everything.
I feel like they're made for like the stupidest people in society.
Oh, they are. Absolutely. I mean, and like the best example of that is previews for comedies. Because every comedy that comes out, like they just show like the 3 best jokes in the movie. And it's just like, did you think it's like, okay, here's how it goes. Here's how it goes whenever I'm in the theater and I see a preview for a comedy. Most of the time, nothing in it makes me laugh. And I go, well, that looks terrible. I won't see that. Mm-hmm. But every once in a while, there's a couple things that make me laugh. And then I say, well, those are the only things that would make me laugh. And I've seen them. I won't see that.
That's right.
You know? And sometimes it really is a shame because you're just like, how stupid are these people in a way? Because now it's just like, here's the best joke in the movie, and I'm anticipating it because I know it's coming because I saw it like 10 times a day on TV. You know, like kind of loses a bit of something. I realize if it's a comedy, you need to show something funny to get people in there, but they always seem to have to show like the strongest joke, the best thing they can. That's like, there's no surprises for anybody going into it. It's just like, yeah, it delivered those 3 jokes that it showed in the preview, so.
I used to love trailers that were just really vague,
Yeah.
Just super vague. And you just wonder, I mean, because you want to put the butt in the seat, not to show you what's going to happen,
Yeah. Remember for The Dark Knight, they had like a teaser that was just dialogue over a black screen?
Yeah, stuff like that.
I love that, man.
That's a great idea.
It was like the Joker giving one of his little speeches. And we see nothing. There's no scenes. There's nothing. It's just the Joker talking over. Like, it was awesome. I loved it.
I was trying to find something I was. There's something I was looking at recently where they did that. They showed it in every trailer. Like the best gag in the movie, and it like ruined the movie for a lot of people. So I can't remember what it was, but. Mm-hmm.
Just like so many horror movies, they show like the big jump scare in the preview. Like, man, like
I think it may be one of the Men in Black movies actually.
Here's like every like horror movie preview over like the last 15 years. Blah 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 blah. This happens, that happens, and then the last shot is some person really close to the camera getting pulled away.
Yes,
that's like how all those things happen. It's like something pulls them. Something comes out of the darkness and pulls them, or like, that's in so many of them. I think the first one was, like, that shitty remake Quarantine. Quarantine showed it, and then, like, all the others showed it. Then, not even a horror movie. There was a really bizarre movie. I think it had, like, Sandra Bullock or something. Remember, it was really weird. It's like, she's in a car accident or something, or she thinks that her husband died, and everybody's telling her she doesn't have a husband or something. Anyway, there's a part where she's, like, in a cabin in the woods, and she's, like, sitting on a chair, and suddenly, like, the whole, like, roof comes off and she flies into the sky, which must have been like a crazy moment in the movie, except that they show it in the preview, like, which is ridiculous. Right. I don't know if the movie's any good, but to me that seems like a really important and surprising thing. Somebody just getting pulled into the sky, and they just show it. You're like, yeah, if you go into the movie, you know that's gonna happen. Like, that's terrible, man.
I remember what it was I was thinking of in Men in Black 2. I don't know if you've seen it.
I sort of saw it. I saw it on a triple bill at the drive-in.
Oh, wow.
But being at the drive-in, I wasn't paying much attention to the movies, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, anyway, they have these self-driving cars, right? But it has a person in the driver's seat that looks like they're driving it, but they get sucked back into the seat. It pulls up, and Will Smith's like, he came with a black dude, but he kept getting pulled over, right? Huge joke. Anyway, they played that in every single trailer, and it like really pissed off the director because it ruined the joke for the movie. So.
Yeah. No, don't remember that at all. I think that was the only time I saw that movie. It was a terrible triple bill. I missed. I was working that summer. That was my first summer working as a reporter, and trying to think what they were. It was a terrible. Oh yeah, it was terrible movies. That was the first one, so I missed like the first half of it because we got there late because of my work.
Yeah.
But then the other two movies were wretched. They were Mr. Deeds and Enough.
Jennifer Lopez?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just awful, wretched movies that I in no way paid attention to. And I was right. I mean, even if they were great movies, I wouldn't have paid attention to them. But I mean, I could tell, looking up and listening to a bit of it, awful, awful stuff. Mr. Deeds really was a turning point of like, this is like 2002. It's like, here's where Sandler's already starting to not try. It's like such a lazy movie.
That's exactly.
It's so lazy because it actually is a remake too. Like it's a remake of Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. Like I always bring that up. It's one of the most lazy movies I've ever seen, where just no effort is put into anything. Whether it's the casting, the lines, the jokes, the plot, it's just all. Even Winona Ryder being in it seems like a hint of laziness to me.
Yeah, that was when she was like, shoplifting and stuff all the time too. So.
Right in the middle of that.
Yeah, Gary Cooper.
Yeah, I've seen the original. It's interesting. It's not one of those movies that ages too well.
Well, it seems like an odd movie to remake for one, but
especially with Adam Sandler. But I know what they're thinking. Everybody's like, Adam Sandler's like this lovable everyman, so it works perfectly. That was probably his last real attempt to be a lovable everyman. We talked about this before, I think, but isn't it great how like Adam Sandler turned I think around Spanglish? It was just like, from now on, I'll just always be like some really cool, affluent, successful guy, but I'll still have my Adam Sandler, sense of humor, and I'll totally get the super hot girl. Like, that's all his movies.
Yeah, he's had way too attractive love interests in his movies.
He even points it out himself in Grown Ups too, because he says like how he's married to super hot the Mexican one.
Sophia.
No.
Oh, it's so Selma Hayek, right?
Yeah, Selma Hayek. Yeah, like he's actually married to Selma Hayek. There's like a part where like his son is just like, I want to date this girl, and he's like, well then go for it. And he's like, but I'm fugly. He's like, of course you are. You're my son. Look at me. It doesn't matter. Look how hot my wife is. Like, and it's just pointing out to the audience. They're like, yes, it makes no fucking sense, except of course that you do have money. Like that, like I said, it's a big part of his characters. His characters are usually successful and have money. Like the one time it didn't happen recently was the Pixels thing, because it's like, oh, he's a loser. He just installs stuff, but he's a loser who's best friends with the president and saves the world single-handedly.
He still got the hot chick.
Still got the hot chick with the video game skills. So yeah. But anyway, it's funny what you said about. This is again just me making a reach that has nothing to do with anything, but since I'm on a bit of a roll here, here's a newish comedy that I actually watched about 2 months ago, when it showed up on Netflix, even though I knew I was going to hate it, because you were talking about previews are made for the stupidest people ever. Okay, so you know how Dumb and Dumber is a movie, and there's other movies kind of like Dumb and Dumber, where it's like, look how dumb these characters are, and that's sort of what's funny. And I get it. It is sort of funny. It's just like, look how absurdly dumb they are. Like, they're so dumb, like somebody in real life wouldn't be that dumb. And look at the comedic situations it puts them in. Like, I get that. That makes sense. But I saw a movie called, I don't remember their names, Jerk and Other Asshole Need Wedding Dates. I'm sure you've heard of it. But the brothers
Mike and Dave,
yeah. Okay, Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. And that is a movie that celebrates stupidity, but real stupidity. He's stupid, his brother's stupid, and the two girls they team up with are very stupid. And the whole movie is just a big celebration of just a bunch of fucking idiots being idiots together, and how great that is. It actually made me mad. I was just furious watching it. Because again, it wasn't playing it off for laughs like, oh, this person's so dumb, like not like a real person, but like a made up character. It's like, no, these are real people. These represent real, just dumb people that you meet every day who are really stupid. And here's their movie and how much fun they're having and how awesome it is. And I'm just like, yes, this makes sense. There's all sorts of dumb asshole people that totally identify with you and are happy.
Yes.
And to me, it just, I don't mean to be some sort of elitist snob, but I guess I am, because I'm just like, this is a celebration of ignorance and stupidity, and it's just, the movie actually almost sort of offends me, to tell you the truth, because that's what it's all about. It's like, look how dumb they are. These chicks are dumb too. Look at all the dumb shit they do, and how fun it is, and how great they work out together. Like, oh,
they're all Yeah, they're
It
all
was infuriating.
match made in heaven.
Yeah.
They're all
It
just
was
stupid together.
infuriating, man. Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah. That just like, yeah. I mean, I've watched plenty of lackluster comedies over the years because that's what I do. Because I'm just like, well, let's see, I'll be disappointed and
Yeah, you make some bad decisions about that sometimes. I'm like, why? Why did you watch that? I knew you were not
I
going to
know.
like it.
Yeah, and I know. But that one was much different because that one actually like bothered me. Like it made me upset and mad. I was like, but yeah.
Oh man, what was one you watched the other day that I was like, God, why?
Hey, you're the one that watched what is it, Drop Dead Fred?
Oh yeah,
I don't know how you can.
I don't like
that.
it. Believe me, I don't like that movie.
I know. Oh, okay. Wait, I'll see what I watched lately. Obviously, all so horribly forgettable.
It's so hard for me to get to people's like channels on Letterboxd. I have to like go to my channel and figure out.
I watched Office Christmas Party and Fist Fight. I mean, I knew both of those were awful.
And that's on HBO for us too, I think. So I need to.
Yeah. Well, Office Christmas Party like doesn't even pretend to have any sort of plot. The plot is there's a Christmas party.
I mean,
that is the plot
because there are some funny people in that movie.
Yeah. Although Jason Bateman is not funny in movies. He can be funny in TV shows, but he can't be funny in movies. And I don't even know what happened to what's his name. He's gone off a cliff.
Jason Sudeikis.
Is he in that?
No, I don't even remember who's in it. I know Terry Crews is in there.
Is he? I don't remember him either.
Doesn't he like go crazy and like jump off the balcony or something? I haven't seen it, but I thought I remember that.
A lot of people go crazy and jump off the balcony. How can I keep track of them all? I don't know. All I can remember is just a bunch of like bit characters. Like there's no real main plot or main character.
Sounds great.
What's that? TJ something.
TJ Miller.
Yeah, he's gone off a cliff, is what I'm saying. Like, I thought he was funny a few years ago. Now he's just, paycheck. I get it. That's what a lot of these comedic people do. And like, for this movie, he's like the rich guy that throws the party, and he's just terrible.
And we talked about his stand-up special, his recent stand-up special. I think. Didn't you see it?
Yeah, it was pretty half-assed.
He had the water bottles. He just kept dumping water on himself, and
I was really half-assed. I wondered if he was like had a hangover or something.
He was in his home state of Colorado, so I imagine
seen some pretty bad comedy specials lately.
Yeah, me too, man.
Like the Tracy Morgan one is god awful.
I'm not a fan of his.
I defend Tracy Morgan to people. Like I'm like, he's all right. But like this comedy special he had, it's like the first one since like he had the accent and everything like that, right? And he just seems like he's like lost like a lot of his, or maybe it's just because he's aging badly and he has like bad life choices. It just seems like he's aged like 20 years in 5 years, and he's just slowed down and he's low energy and he's like he just seems to have lost whatever exciting aura or that energy that comedians have. He's lost it completely. He just seems like he's just a dead man walking, talking, and it was so boring. It's really boring. Do not put yourself through it. But another person. Yeah, but another person from 30 Rock, I just said, Judah Friedlander.
Yeah.
That's good. Like, watch that.
Wow.
Yeah, America's the greatest. And it's good, too, because it sort of shows how smart he is, too, because a lot of it is kind of improv, because what he does is, most of it is him engaging the audience and him, like, reacting to their responses. And he's pretty quick. Like, and it all fits in with the theme. I would say watch that. It's really different from most comedy specials because it's a really small, shitty club that has barely any people in it. And it's not even one performance. It's like a collage of different performances in the same place. It's like it's like the most hardcore underground, like lo-fi comedy special you ever see. But it's quite good. I liked it. I thought it was good. Yeah, it's called like America is the Greatest Country in America or something like that. I don't know. But it's funny. And most of it has to do with, like the way Americans see other countries and see themselves. It's pretty funny. I thought it was good.
Seems like everybody and their mother has a stand-up special on Netflix right now.
Yeah. But that's the only good one I've seen lately that was new. The other ones are all disappointing letdown.
Half of quite a few lately I just had to turn off because they weren't any good.
I have no idea why I didn't turn off the Tracy Morgan one. It definitely deserved it. It definitely deserved to be turned off. It was called Staying Alive or something. So it's like barely, just barely staying alive.
But it's also talking about Tracy Morgan. Since 30 Rock, the only thing I'd heard about him besides him getting in that car accident was his stand-up routine involved like telling jokes about like your kid's gonna be gay. If your kid's gay, you would like leave him or something like that. I just remember he got like lots of controversy around that.
That's weird too, because they even like make fun of that like on the show. Remember? On 30 Rock, there's a part where like he makes like insensitive comments about gays on the show. And the whole point is, well, you know, that's the Tracy Jordan character. Because he just says something like, being gay is stupid. And he's just like, why wouldn't you just grab your dick all the time or something really dumb like that? He has to actually apologize for it. So I'm just thinking, but wow, in real life he can still make like dumb, insensitive comments about gays? Living his art form. I always think it's funny. Whenever I think of Tracy Morgan, it makes me think of all people. It's a weird link, but this big Hollywood star guy.
Listen to this.
Okay.
He said if his son was gay, you better come and talk to him like a man, and he mimicked the high pitched gay voice, or he would pull out a knife and stab that little N-word to death.
That's not even a joke.
That's where do you tell that joke?
Yeah, that's not a joke. Like, I don't think I'm being like a super sensitive, politically correct person here. I don't see the joke. It's just him saying something awful.
I don't know that would be funny if you were like all about hating gay people either.
Well, that's what I mean. You'd just be like, you wouldn't laugh. You'd be like, yes, good, right.
Yes,
that's what on. Yeah, but you wouldn't be like, ha ha ha, what wit? You just be like, yeah, you're just saying what I would do. I think that's right. No, that's ridiculous. But Tracy Morgan makes me think of Channing Tatum, because when I used to watch 30 Rock, sometimes my mom would watch it with me if she was around, and she would just say, "Oh, that Tracy Morgan is so stupid," and I would defend him and say. I would say, well, no, he's playing like an exaggerated version of himself. And I said, it takes a certain amount of actual sort of intelligence and talent, to play that. And she's like, no, he's just really stupid. And so that's why he's good at playing stupid. And I disagreed with her on that. But that's how I feel about Channing Tatum, who, if you watch particularly any comedy, but particularly 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street, the point is his character's a little slow and a little dumb. And to me, he nails it because I think in real life Channing Tatum is very dull and very stupid. But
that's possible.
You see those movies?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're okay.
See, I don't dislike them, but.
No, I don't dislike him in any different way that some people. Because I get, he's the it guy. All the girls go crazy for him, and he's out there with his shirt off, presenting, an unrealistic expectation for the rest of us that we can't live up to. What the hell, But I don't have any of that. I don't care. That's fine. But no, I don't dislike him. I just think he's actually a stupid individual that probably, couldn't name like 4 state capitals.
Sure.
But maybe I'm wrong.
No, that's totally possible. I mean, I think he's a decent actor, though. I mean, I've,
I haven't seen him do anything that I thought was particularly good. What did you like? Maybe I'm blanking.
I can't think of the name of it. Had Shia LaBeouf in it as well. Shia LaBeouf.
Damn, I haven't seen anything with him in years.
It's been a few years ago. It was let me go find it. He's done. I mean, gosh, he works constantly too.
Yeah,
he's got like 5 movies in post production right now. This was. Oh. Huh.
Got dead air.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not seeing here.
Yeah,
I see where it should be in his filmography, and I can't find it. Oh, he was good in Foxcatcher, but again, he was playing like kind of a dumb guy.
Yeah. Okay, I saw Foxcatcher. What's funny about that is, So the guy that he played hates that movie. He hates it with a burning, fiery passion, especially because of like the implications that the guy was coming on to him and there was some sort of gay thing going on.
Yeah.
But he praised the hell out of Channing Tatum and said he was great. I'm just thinking, yeah, you just think it's flattering to have Channing Tatum play you. You know. But yeah, that was an okay movie.
Shit.
Yeah, I had no problem with that movie. It was all right. Not too many movies that you get to see real wrestling in. Steve Carell being an eccentric weirdo.
You know what? It wasn't Channing Tatum in the movie I'm thinking of. Never mind.
Oh. Well, as you said, he's okay in Foxcatcher. I got no problem with that.
Yeah.
I saw him in a movie called Fighting, where he fights Kung Lee.
Yeah, it's not a very good movie either, is it?
And wins, because it's a movie. Quite a
He's
while.
just like this dude from like the the slums, and he just like all of a sudden is a great fighter.
Yeah, it's like Terrence Howard's like his fight pimp. He's just like, hey, it's just Terrence Howard pimping him all over the place, getting him to fight people. Like, I enjoy the movie because I'm like, I like fighting, sure. But that was right before he really got big. 8 or something. I'm not even sure what made Channing Tatum big. He was more of a gradual climb than overnight success. You know,
sure.
A lot of these stars they usually have like some big, even though he had all the things going for him, big, good looking guy, good body, and all that. Like
I think like Magic Mike is really what put him there.
Well, I mean, sure, right? Because
I'm checking his dick for an hour and a half. He'll do it. But
like I couldn't there really is no plot behind that. Like it's just like, okay, here's them on stage doing stuff, and here's them off stage just hanging out talking. But that's not a plot. Like that's like the same thing, only worse. Is like there was a movie that came out and it was this is early 2000s when everybody has 9/11 on their minds and stuff. They made a movie called Ladder 49.
Oh yeah.
That people praise the hell out of it. Ladder 49 has no plot. It's scenes of firefighters being brave and fighting fires. What's the word or juxtaposed with scenes of the firefighters hanging out. That's how the movie works. Fire scene, some stuff happens. Now a more lighthearted scene back at the station where they play a prank on each other, or they have like a picnic with their families, and then back to a fire. Lots of that's what the movie is, back and forth until it just ends. Like there's no actual plot, and that's kind of how I feel about Magic Mike. It's here they are on stage, and the girls are going wild and stuff, and here they are in their boring, shitty lives outside of that. And here they are back on stage, everything's crazy. There's no actual arc really that's going on. It's just a back and forth between the two things that they do in their lives, the dancing and the boring other stuff. Although some of it's not boring, like he gets to have like a threesome with some hot chick or something. But
it just doesn't seem like something I want to see. I haven't seen the movie obviously, but I'm just so blown away that Steven Soderbergh did it. Like he's supposed to be like so revolutionary, and I guess he would just likes a paycheck. I don't know.
I was gonna say, I guess you can't blame him for a cash grab every once in a while.
Because he did 2 of them, right?
Did he do the second one too? But there's their movie where you have no idea how there could possibly be a sequel. But it's like, well, there has to be a sequel. The fake one was such, the first one was such a hit and stuff, and even called like XL or something like that. Or
yeah, it is XL, I believe. Talking about that dick.
What's funny is, like, the first time somebody said that, I thought there was a joke. Like, I thought they were just making it up, like the way where they'd be like, Magic Mike 2 Unloaded or something. Like, I thought they were joking when they said XL. It's like, oh, no, that is the title. Okay.
Check.
It doesn't even have any dick, people.
Magic Mike XXL.
Oh, sorry. XXL.
I have to clear my search history after this.
Channing Tatum Bulge.
You're right. Yes, Soderbergh did not direct the second one.
I didn't think so.
Channing Tatum Bulge.
That's in my Google history. Oh, shit. Who bulged it better?
No, Steven... trying to look and see what he... he had that really... really... It seems interesting to me, this app that I think someone posted it on the Twitter conversation, but it's like he's trying to develop a new way to tell a story, since he says Hollywood's like dead and garbage now, which he's not. He's not incorrect, but it's this thing where you can go off in lots of different directions, and it's kind of like a mystery, but you can, have lots of different outcomes depending on the way you go about it.
What, like a choose your own adventure book?
Somewhat like that, yeah. But it's like it's only for your phone as an app, but it's like a live action type thing.
That's interesting, man. I used to own a bunch of those choose your own adventure books. They were like the cheapest thing going. You could get like 4 for $1.
Yeah, I wasn't ever a big fan, but
I wasn't a big fan. I just read them. It's not. I never thought any of them were any good. I just read them because they were there. I guess that's the same reason why I read like all those Archie comics that I had. Like I inherited a bunch of Archie comics from like an older cousin.
Yeah.
And I would just read them over, and I had a bunch. I had like probably like 15 or 20 of them. But I still read them enough that like by the time I would just reread them all the time, knowing almost like word for word the dialogue. There was just something sort of safe and predictable about them that I kind of enjoyed. I guess it's the same thing now that when I'll put on like an episode of Family Guy I've seen 15 times, for background noise while I do other things. There's something sort of familiar and comfortable about it. And that was the same thing with the Archies. And they were so lazy that I even had 2 different Archies, just different books and stuff that had comics that had the exact same plot with different characters. So there's this one that I read where it's like, where the setup is Archie is sleeping over at, or Jughead is sleeping over at Archie's house. And Archie says, "Thanks, Jughead, for sleeping over with me while my parents are away this weekend." He's like, "Oh, no problem." And they're about to go to bed. And he's like, "Well, lights out, pal," or something like that. He's like, "Yeah." Then Archie says, "Hey, Jughead, are you awake?" And he's like, "Huh?" And he's like, "I heard a noise downstairs." And he's like, "I didn't hear anything, but I'll go check." So Jughead goes downstairs, and he says, like, "Nothing's here." But being Jughead, he's like, "Well, I might as well have a snack." So he makes like a sandwich and eats it, and he goes back up. And he says, "No, there's nothing down there, Archie." And Archie's like, "Fine." And then he's just like, "Oh, wait." A few minutes later, it's like, "I think I hear something again." Jughead says, "I'll go check." Anyway, this repeats about 3 or 4 times. And each time, Jughead makes a different snack for himself. Finally, the punchline in the end of the joke of the thing is, Jughead comes back upstairs and says, "No, he's like, there's just nothing down there." And then Archie says, I must be going crazy because I hear something again. And Jughead says, "Well, you're going to have to go this time, dude, because I can't eat another bite." And that's the payoff, right? There was an exact same, so there was a comic that from a different collection, was the exact same thing, except Moose was staying over with Dilbert. Dilbert would hear a noise, Moose would go downstairs and eat a snack, and the same thing. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Not even a good plot to begin with.
Are these the ones that like they actually have a spine?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're pretty good sized. Yeah.
Yeah, Archie double. Some of them are big, the double digest. I remember being young enough reading them that I didn't know it said digest. I was like digest. I was reading it wrong and stuff like that. But I mean, and I mean, I know that I liked the pretty girls in it, but yeah, because sometimes I would just sort of stare at like it's funny. Every once in a while, I would catch them in fairly sexual positions that they didn't mean to put themselves in. Like once there was a shot of like Archie with his arm around somebody and his hands like right down on her tits. And you're like, whoa, and stuff. What's funny is like they don't make any attempt to hide how horny they are. It's just that the limit for them is kissing. Like they're horny as hell, but all they can think about is kissing and stuff. And that was good enough for like a prepubescent me, I guess. Sometimes I was like, "Oh yeah, this is good stuff." So that was part of the reason too, I suppose. But how do I even get on to Archie? I don't know. Oh right, choose your own adventure books. Yeah. So yeah, I read just like I watched a lot of shit TV as a kid. I read a lot of shit books and stuff too, just because they were there. And I was just like, yeah. And like I was aware, and it wasn't like years later in retrospect, as an adult, I realized they were stupid. It was like I knew they were stupid as a kid while doing it, and I was just like, I might as well do this. This is worth my time.
Yeah, man, I was maybe like 8 when I quit reading Archie stuff. I was pretty young. I liked it quite a bit. And, expanded on to like Calvin and Hobbes and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's excellent stuff. That's really good. Nothing to throw away about that.
Archie comics like remind me of like Bazooka Gum,
Yeah.
because it's like
Cheap
so
and terrible.
dumb. But I mean,
Yeah.
it had the comics in there that were always just so lame, and that
Yeah.
really just reminds me of the same type thing, because they're just repetitive. The same thing you were saying. It's just I feel like they're not trying.
Yeah. It's funny now because like they still make Archies the same way, but they also make different Archies that are all like modern and hip too. That are like more like normal modern comics. It's really weird. Remember a few years ago they had the whole thing where they had like two different realities. One where Archie married Betty and one where Archie married Veronica. It's kind of interesting.
Wasn't Veronica a lesbian in there one time?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe
There's
I
that
remember
Riverdale
wrong.
show on Netflix where people get murdered. I haven't watched it, but maybe I should. And like I know they sex it up too, because I think like one of them is having an affair with Miss Grundy, who, as we remember from the show or from the books, was old and disgusting. But I think they make her young and hot for the show.
Oh man, they're just out of ideas, aren't they?
Yeah, Archie was right up there with Saved by the Bell for like totally painting a crazy, unrealistic vision of high school for my young brain.
Right.
I'm just like, high school's awesome. You're never in class. Like you
It
just
seems really
hang out.
stressful.
You hang out in the halls and well, yeah. Well, it seemed unstressful to me because it seemed like they never did any work or anything, and they just palled around with all the teachers.
Yeah.
Like I was I was also a good student. So this helped. So like I had a good rapport with most teachers, but there were still teachers out there that that like intimidated the hell out of me and were not friendly at all and stuff. Where you had to get the hell out of their way. But in that, it's just like, oh, everybody's friends and stuff like that. Oh, Mr. Belding,
Oh god.
you're the worst administrator ever. What's funny is like every time there's any sort of Saved by the Bell like reunion or anything like that, he's like front and center. It's literally all the man has. And he seems to have like if you watch any of it, like he's blurred the line too. I think he kind of thinks he is Mr. Belding. Like I think he's lost his identity. He realized the only thing he had in his life was being Mr. Belding, and when the show ended, it like nearly killed him. So now any chance he can still be Mr. Belding, he tries. It's quite sad.
It is sad. I heard a story about him. God, I don't remember where it was, but it was like he would just frequent this like strip club bar.
Oh man!
And just like tell people he was Mr. Belding. Yeah, it's crazy.
And people are like super expecting people to be super impressed and want to hang out with him, and they're just like, "Wow, that sucks, man."
Oh man, I looked up Dennis Haskins bar, and there is tons of images.
What
Just
is
him,
it?
like
Oh, that's his name.
yeah, Mr. Belding. Wow, wow. That is a red-faced Mr. Belding right there.
It's all right, 'cause I'm Saved by the Bell.
It's like, yeah, let's do another reunion. You want to do a reunion? Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, yeah, like he would kill for one right now.
I'll put on a Hawaiian shirt.
Dennis Haskins, how old is he now? Wow, he's got a big fat face now.
Oh, he doesn't look like Mr. Belding.
No, he's big and he's fat. He was on Dancing with the Stars. I shouldn't be surprised because everybody was on that. Like even if you're D-list as they come, like their idea of stars is kind of interesting. What has he done lately? Let's see. He was on the Tonight Show a couple years ago as Mr. Belding. See?
Yeah, they did that.
He was... Holy shit. There was some terrible like Disney show called Victorious that had Victoria Justice on it. Really hot.
Sounds great.
And he was on that as Mr. Belding. They're saying the Victorious... So Victorious was the same universe as Saved by the Bell. Wow, that's awesome.
I'm going to send you a picture of Mr. Belding in that skit.
The Boys and Girls Guide to Getting Down from 2006, he played himself, which is more or less him playing Mr. Belding, because that's his only identity.
I am Belding.
Is that a thing? I hope so. It should be by now. There's an I am everything else. On July 14th, 2016, Haskins performed on stage with 90s-themed band Saved by the 90s. It was at a Toledo Mudhens minor league baseball game. Ah, the height of fame and stardom.
It's like what, Corey Feldman canceled. Get Mr. Belding in here, quick.
In 2009, he released an album called Karaoke with Your Favorite Principal, Dennis.
Dennis
Wow.
Belding.
Yes, exactly. Like I said, it's his whole fucking identity. Look, included on that is he does the song Mustang Sally. It's a duet with Brooke Hogan.
Oh my god!
You can't make this shit up. That's an album. We can buy that we can buy that on iTunes. We can listen to Mr. Belding and Brooke Hogan sing Mustang Sally.
Oh, that almost makes me sick.
Yeah, that's pretty horrifying. Oh, Dennis Haskins. Yeah, he's still waiting for, like, I mean, everything's from the 90s getting remade, so he's just praying for the, the new Saved by the Bell so he can get himself on there. It's either Mr. Belding again or Mr. Belding's dad or, something. He's just dying for it. And if only they just stuck with Good Morning, Miss Bliss, because I loved Haley Mills. Oh, I loved her so much. I had a weird relationship with Haley Mills because I loved her adult form and her kid form when I was a kid. And didn't know they were the same person for years. Like, there was a film she did with Disney in the 60s called Pollyanna, and I just had a huge crush on her and stuff like that. And then I saw her, like, older and other things in Good Morning, Miss Bliss, and thought she was so pretty there, too, but didn't know that was the same person. Good Morning, Miss Bliss disappeared. She got upstaged by Mark Paul Gosselaar.
That son of a bitch.
I assume he's the one that ruined it.
Yeah, without him, that show wouldn't have existed. And they got another Slater. They got another, of course, Kelly Kapowski. And
yeah. Well, if you want to talk about things being sad, and this is me being, a sexist jerk, I don't mean by being sexist, but it is very sad to me to see how she aged. And I don't mean even recently. I mean even 10 years ago, she looked pretty bad.
Well, she's 71 years old. I mean,
not Miss Bliss, Kelly Kapowski.
Oh,
Tiffany Amber Tyson. Amber Tyson. By like the 2000s, she was already kind of done as far as being like. She was
totally.
She was like a babe in the 90s, and like it was a very quick switch over. I don't know. It happens to the best of them, I suppose.
Yeah.
I saw like a really weird like made-for-TV movie she was in the early 2000s where she's got like short hair and playing like a cop of some sort or something. It's really weird. She's actually almost kind of like Butch in it. Not just the short hair, but even the character. Like, I don't know if they're trying to imply her character was a lesbian or whatever, but it was really weird because I was, used to her younger, bubbly, really feminine, sexy schoolgirl self,
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she took the role. Maybe she's like, this will get me away from that. I don't know. But to me, it was kind of soul-crushing. I was like, no.
Well, let me tell you, she went the way a lot of people have, and now she has a cooking show. Dinner at Tiffany's.
Because any idiot can do that.
Or
write children. It's either have a cooking show or write children's books. That's what you do if you're like a celebrity that isn't really relevant anymore, but still has time on their hands.
It's like, hey, you remember so and so from some stupid ass sitcom? Don't you want to read some kids' book that they had somebody write for them?
Yeah. Or watch some cooking show that has some dumb pun about their name or one of their characters' names. Or people still love dumb puns. Like, are we ever gonna get away from like TV shows that are just terrible puns? Like, it's like Kevin James's new show is called Kevin Can Wait. Now, I mean, I can say everything about Kevin James because yes, he's terrible and he's never done anything good in his life, and I hate him. But even I don't know, just the fact that his show is called that, like. His show could be amazing, and it's called Kevin Can Wait, as if we're still, like, living in 1984.
Is it Is that still on, or is that his new one or his old one?
Well, I think that's new. That's on like now. Like that's what I mean. Like that's new. That like came out like last year or something. And those are the names that are coming out here. Kevin can wait. Haha, it sounds like heaven can wait, which is a common phrase in English. Because that's kind of like how all sitcoms go. Again, I think Could Fly back in the 80s, but I think, it's kind of been played out by now.
There was like a renovation show that had a great pun name. Wish I could remember it. Oh man, like RuPaul's Drag Race. Isn't that great? It's funny.
Very. Like I said, like that's another thing that happens too. Like if you watch like those channels like HGTV and stuff like that, they'll have things like that don't even make sense. I remember there was like literally a show about people that did professional arm wrestling. It was like the arm wrestling circuit. And it was called Game of Arms.
That may be what I'm thinking.
Because Game of Thrones is a popular show. So Game of Arms.
When you search,
or maybe when people are flipping the channels really quickly, and they're looking at their guide and they say Game of Thrones. Oh, no, that's not Game of Thrones.
Game of Arms,
though. That sounds like it has real potential, and that's how they watch it.
Yeah. Game of Arms. That's so stupid. That's
There's a show called The Sweet Life of Jack and Cody, with sweet spelled S-U-I-T-E, because they lived in a hotel suite.
That's good. That's good. Nope. Green light.
Boy Meets World is like Boy Meets Girl, in case people didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
They made a show about Superman, but they called it Lois and Clark, because that sounds like Lewis and Clark. See, this is really getting people out of their seats and stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, you really can't blame them. They didn't name those characters.
Yeah, but I mean, why would you call it Lois and Clark? It's a Superman show.
That is kind of odd why they didn't just call it like Superman.
Because it was before these movies were a big deal, right? And they wanted to distance themselves from superhero stuff because it wasn't popular in like the 80s and 90s. That's why they're like, oh, well, he happens to be Superman, but it's about their relationship, which is probably true. I don't know. I didn't watch it because every week they couldn't come up with anything decent for Superman to fight. I want to see Superman, fighting the people he fights like Brainiac. Instead, it's like, here's like a bunch of bank robbers that can slow down time with a gun or something.
Every episode was just some like random criminal who had some kryptonite.
Yeah.
They would just like throw kryptonite on the ground and like do whatever they wanted for like 5 minutes.
And everybody praised the hell out of that show years later, Smallville, even though it kind of did the same thing, except it was just like, it was some random person that was like mutated by this meteor that had hit the town, because that's how Clark got there at the same time as a meteor. And apparently Smallville origin was supposed to be like nothing really happened in Smallville except, of course, Superman was there. But in the show Smallville, it was like all sorts of shit happened in Smallville. He did all tons of stuff before he was ever Superman, which is always dumb. It undercuts things, but that's a whole thing.
Smallville was funny because he could like never play football because he was too good. It was like, oh, Clark's slow.
Yeah.
Look at Clark. He's this like 6'7" like beefcake who can't run fast. Like, come on.
Well, I mean, is part of Superman's shtick. It's like he always had to make Clark like especially clumsy and especially inept, just like Bruce Wayne has to be especially vapid and stuff like that, right? Makes a certain amount of sense because it's just like, wait a minute, it takes a lot of money. Hey, Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered right in front of him. That might give him motivation. But the whole thing is, well, it couldn't be Bruce Wayne because look at what a fucking idiot he is, And so they have to sort of do the same thing with Clark. It's like, look at Clark with those thick glasses. He can't see a thing without them.
He could never be Superman.
Of course, it's worse with that because the whole thing is glasses off. But I mean, that's just one of the things. That's one of the other reasons. Like DC just never just let it happen. At least Marvel doesn't have that in its universe. Like, there's no thing where everybody just can't recognize somebody without glasses. There's suspension of disbelief, of course, but there isn't that. Like, that's just staring you in the face because you can't put a mask on Superman or ruin it.
You look familiar.
Like, there's Lex Luthor. hey, there's Lex Luthor, you know, this billionaire genius, and yet who wants so badly to discover the secret identity of Superman, and yet with all his technology and smarts and resources, he can't figure out that this reporter that he's met many times is Superman in glasses, let alone anybody else that knows him well. But that's just one of the big things that DC just doesn't address. They're just like, yeah, okay, just accept it and move on, and we do, and that's fine. I'm not going to harp on it. All over the place tonight.
Oh man, wish I could find that damn title I was thinking of. Anyway, there's lots of really dumb ones.
Yeah, I was trying to look up more and I can't find any now. Of course, they all go out of my head.
A good list. It's all.
But yeah, just so many of them are just like puns or common sayings, slightly changed, and stuff like that. Even Perfect Strangers is one, even though I really like Perfect Strangers. Technically, again, Perfect Strangers is an idiom. But as I said, now it's 2017, and we still have shows that just do that. It's like, oh, it's a play on words. Isn't that clever?
Yeah, I think Perfect Strangers is a little more intelligent than some of these.
It is, because it does sort of relate to the plot and characters. As I said, I don't want to tear down this Perfect Strangers, so I loved it. That was one of my favorite shows as a kid. And that heartwarming song.
Or like Just the 10 of Us, you know? Haha. There's 10 of you. There's no just in there.
8 is enough, apparently. Don't need 10. Seventh Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
That was laying on pretty thick. There's another one of the ones that's like a Bill Cosby situation that's ruined for everybody. Because the father, the wholesome preacher father from that is like convicted of like pedophilia, like possessing child porn and stuff. Like, wow.
Whoever's job it was to sweep that under the rug did a great job, because he just disappeared and you never heard about it again.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true. Especially in light of like everybody coming out against everybody right now. Right now, we're having the war called everybody versus everybody.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I guess it's a good thing. You want. You know, but still, it's just weird how it's been this avalanche. John Oliver went hard after Dustin Hoffman, which I guess is good. Not letting him off the hook, but
Matt Lauer the other day from the Today Show.
He's a piece of shit anyway.
Yeah, I don't like
care if he never did anything. I can stand him. He's a terrible. Like, how is he ever considered a journalist? His interviews are pointless drivel. He's never asked a hard-hitting question in his life. How was he ever qualified for the job in the first place is what baffles me. Let's say he never did anything sexually inappropriate. It doesn't matter. He was just poor at what his job was supposed to be. He was a joke. I've always really disliked him. This just puts a little more fuel on the fire for me.
Yeah, the thing that's striking to me is how many people are coming out in his defense while they're just throwing people under the bus constantly out there, and nobody's.
I didn't know people were coming out in his defense, and that really surprised me because he has no integrity. So who would come out in his defense? That really.
Well, I mean, all of his supposed co-workers.
Not his wife. His wife fled to Europe.
Did she? Wow.
Yep. His wife's from somewhere in Europe, and she's retreated back to her home country. Of course, part of this stuff is like it was a well-known fact that he cheated on her all the time.
Well, I mean that's one thing. You know, that's really not something that needs to be discussed.
If you're a cheater, yeah, like I don't like you or respect you or whatever, but it has nothing to do with your job.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like.
I'm just saying, I think that's why the wife abandoned ship, because she was tired of everybody talking about how he did all this stuff behind her back.
And she probably just doesn't want to be caught up in all the business going on, the interviews and the reporters, media bullshit.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe she's completely jumping ship. Harvey Weinstein's wife jumped ship.
I don't blame her though.
No, I don't blame her either. I'm not saying, oh, she's abandoning him. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's obviously she's not going to stand by his side for one reason or another. So, but oh man, it's like every day there's somebody new, and it's like the second the allegations come out, whatever they're attached to, affiliated with, advertisers, gone. Whatever jobs they were working on, whatever show they're working on.
The Kevin Spacey one really rocks me because it's stuff. I'm not saying if it was a long time ago, it doesn't matter, but still, it is kind of. I mean, that whole show just boom, he's gone.
That was like the same day. Like I heard about the allegations, and then
that's the one that really rocked me. That
Netflix is like, all right, it's over. We're canceling the show. Like, damn.
Yeah.
I mean, let's make sure that shit actually happened.
They saved the show. They're doing another season. I think Robin Wright is on it, and they're going to shift the focus to her. I've never seen the show, but supposedly it's a good show.
Oh, okay.
So that's going to happen now. But, I mean, he's gone. He's out of there. What's funny is, did you read the interview with his brother? His brother called him, like, a monster.
Yeah, so I did see that.
His brother's like, he's a really dark person, and he's done horrible things. And he said that their father, like, abused and molested the hell out of him. And his father loved Nazis.
Like that matters. It's just
another popular buzzword these days.
Nazis.
Well, what else are people pissed off about? Well, the New York Times did that interview with the Nazi guy, and people were mad because they were trying so hard to be objective that they mostly just made it seem like he was a normal guy with some different views. People were flipping out. I mean, they are right. I mean, there's one thing to be objective, and there's another thing to completely ignore bald-faced facts that are right in front of you. Because it really, if you read the article, it just so sounds like, yeah, he's a nice guy, he's a normal guy. It's like, and people are just like, he is a. And they're like, because they said, well, he's pretty nice, and they said, hey, you actually had like mixed race couples at your wedding. He's like, yeah, doesn't bother me. It's their thing. It's like, I think it's horrible, and they'll burn in hell for it, but it's their thing. So. Mm-hmm. But yeah, people weren't cool with that because it seemed like it was really trying to normalize Nazis.
That's a big step, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I get it though. New York Times is just like, look how objective we can be, look how edgy we can be. Well, too much, too far.
Wow, yeah. They've like done a complete 180. Like, yeah, no.
Well, at least in that one instance, I don't know about anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That just sounds like something trying to spark controversy for views or clicks or whatever they need these days. Ad revenue one way or another.
Anyway, I'm running out of steam here, so I'll circle us back to the end on In a Glass Cage. What else is there to be said about it? Mostly just to reiterate stuff like, yeah, if you've heard of it, it's supposedly a very disturbing, shocking movie. I wouldn't say so. As we said, as far as what it actually shows, it's not that bad. The implications and the subject matter, of course, are what they are, but I don't think any of it's just out there to shock you or be trashy or exploitative or anything like that. It's very interesting. I really can't understand the people that find it boring. I think it actually moves quite briskly. It gets right into it. Because before I saw the movie, I was kind of thinking this whole thing when Angelo moves in, that it would be more gradual.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's actually, he starts doing the stuff right from the get-go. And as I said, the only scene that really bothers me is I think that they do drag their feet a little on the whole firing the maid. Like, that could have been accomplished way quicker or even just completely off screen, and they mentioned it. But, I mean, no big deal. But as we said, just... great editing and camera techniques for some of it, particularly when he kills the wife. Reminds me of Argento. There's some colors and stuff going on that's like Argento. Some strong music, especially in the more tense moments. Really great performance, particularly by the actor playing Angelo, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a movie where everybody's speaking Spanish. Which is a little confusing because I don't know if we're supposed to imagine that they're speaking German or if they're just German people that have completely assimilated and now speak Spanish. I don't know. But I guess it doesn't really matter. Just once again, as we say, don't be afraid of subtitles.
Yeah.
It's not like a super heavy dialogue movie. Nobody goes on really big speeches and stuff. And some very harrowing stuff that does call back to the Nazi stuff, as we said. The opening is a bit chilling when you've got that montage of the photos. But again, it's important to see those things sometimes. I don't seek them out, but It was real and it happened. And this movie is fiction, but you know, it's something that could, in sort of an extreme situation. But I think it's very true that there were people that were involved on both sides of those camps. That you know, you go through something like that, it alters your life for the rest of your life in many different ways. This is a different one, as we said, the theme of sort of the cycle of abuse, what it can do, and it's a really interesting example in this one where we have a former somewhat victim who sort of you know, takes the place of the abuser and even kind of surpasses him in a way. And the whole ending is just really powerful. The whole, as we said, her walk, there is a slow, the ending is slow where Rena finally walks up to where he is, but that's just great. It builds the suspense so well. She's walking through the house. Everybody's gone. It's just her and him now. The house is almost empty. He's burned everything. She comes into the room. All the furniture's gone. It's just this weird, as I said, I don't know if there's water on the floor, but everything's shiny and stuff, and he's getting into the lung. It's just a wonderful ending.
Mm-hmm.
Really powerful stuff. And it just clicks in your brain. It's like, oh my God, he's taking his place. You know, like, I loved it. Like, really great.
Well, did you like how it did the snow globe around her, too? Wasn't that kind of weird?
Yeah. It almost reminds me of something like Del Toro would do.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Spanish filmmakers.
Yeah.
But yeah, really excellent movie. But as we said, if you're more timid and stuff about disturbing movies, I don't think this one is so bad as far as like what you actually see on the screen. Like it's not heavy on gore and stuff, or you know, it's more implied, which in itself is disturbing, of course. But I just mean depending on your reaction to these sorts of things. As I said, I do have trouble watching scenes that I think are particularly cruel in movies. The cruelty is more, it's not right in your face necessarily. Although, as we said, the deaths of those two boys is pretty harrowing, and it's supposed to be. But I mean, probably the worst one would have been the first one, and we missed all that. We only see the very end. We see the aftermath. We know that he did all sorts of terrible things to this kid, and he's just hanging on, and then he just ends him by smacking him with the board, and it cuts out. It even cuts away from that. So the movie cuts away for quite a few things, but not in a way that irritates me, in a way that I think is quite well done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree.
So that should do it. Thanks a lot for being with us, particularly if you joined us for our unplanned, somewhat later start. And again, happy anniversary to us. For me now, we're on to December 6th, so we've been doing this a year. We've missed a week here and there, but I think we've done a pretty good job of being consistent and stuff. And hopefully, we've consistently done films that get people interested in. And as we said, you should let us know what you think of this one, or if there's any films out there that maybe remind you of this one or something like that. And as I said, Apt Pupil has some similarities for sure. Did you like Apt Pupil? You can talk to us about that. Whatever. We like to hear. Its feedback's always good. And so we're looking forward to another year of doing this. And we haven't talked at any great length about any sort of bigger plans necessarily. I'm sure we'll do another series another time. Our most ambitious thing in our first year is we did a series on New Hollywood, which I think went pretty well. We might do another sort of series, but I will say, without giving away, that we're thinking about doing at least one, and maybe in the future others, like short mini series. There's a particular mini series that I love. It's Not What You Think, that I've tried to get Jay into, and I think he's gotten interested and wants to see it. So there's a possibility that we do that sometime in the coming weeks. But as for next week, we don't actually know at the moment. And December is always a tricky month with what stuff going on, so there might be cancellations or things like that. So we're not really sure. But as far as I know right now, as we said, we usually go forward with the assumption that there will be a show next week. So for now, that's what we're going to say, although we don't know what it is. But as soon as we nail something down, we'll let you know on Twitter. So that should do it.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thanks a lot. Block Dimension. That's Jay. I'm Cole. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time. Peace.